And they're off for this 3¼ mile Coral-sponsored Grimthorpe chase. And Beat the Boys, one of a trio of greys in the race, handy as they run to the first of 19 fences, with Killyglen, the orange sleeves, and Minella 4-star against the fence. And they've gone off quite hard here, down to the first. They're chased by Meanus Dandy. Leading 3 Take It Well. A blunder from Ringaroses. Last but one, an anxious moment for Dominic Ellsworth. He's been among the winners already this afternoon, but it was nearly an early departure there. He did well to sit tight. Ringaroses disputes last place with Always Right in the maroon silks. So Killyglen has gone on the run around to the second from Minella 4 stars and then Beat the Boys. The second of the greys, Presenting Forever, is tracking the leading 3 early on. And then the other of the greys, Character Building, with the hoops on the sleeves, tucked in on the inside of Meanus Dandy. The white-faced Marigo, the Scottish national winner, seeing plenty of daylight. Killyglen was a bit awkward over the second. A blunder from Always Right towards the rear. And with Ringaroses, Lothian Falcon is held up, and Ogee in a dark blue jacket is tucked away on the inside. The third is the first of the ditches, and Killyglen was much better there. He's quite bold and really attacked it. Ringaroses, the tail of the field, is a couple of lengths adrift after that first fence blunder. And Killyglen leads them on to the fourth. From Beat the Boys, Presenting Forever. Then Minella 4-star in the red and white jacket, just ahead of Meanus Dandy. Followed over by Marigo and Ogee, and then Character Building. Lothian Falcon next, and then a small break to Always Right and Ringaroses. So swinging on in for the first time. They're at the end now of a little over 3/4 mile. And a line of 4 fences to jump up the Doncaster home straight. Killyglen out-jumped by the grey Beat the Boys, who went on once more. Presenting Forever racing keenly on the inside. Minella 4-star is next, and then Meanus Dandy in the headgear. Marigo away to the left from Lothian Falcon in a dark green jacket, and then Character Building, Ogee right down the inner. Always Right still in rear with Ringaroses. On towards the 7th. Killyglen, Beat the Boys, exchanging the lead, with Minella 4-star coming up to make a line of 3 as they rise. Jumps well there, Minella 4-star. Watching the rest over, again, Always Right and Ringaroses, the last 2 to touch down. Just in front of that pair, Marigo and Lothian Falcon, and they close in on the 8th. Beat the Boys, ears pricked, jumps well. Again, Ringaroses is the last to touch down. Marigo's just become a little outpaced. It's been a generous early gallop, and he's being chased along. The Scottish National and Ida winner as Beat the Boys and Killyglen embark on a further circuit of town more. From Minella 4-star in third, Presenting Forever the grey in fourth. Meanus Dandy races next, Ogee up the inner. Near side, Lothian Falcon, the grey Character Building between the two. Then back to Marigo from Always Right, the maroon jacket under a patient ride, and Ringaroses and Dominic Ellsworth are still at the tail. Moving down towards the water then, Killyglen looking to go one better, having finished second in this race 12 months ago, just leading from Beat the Boys. Minella 4-star and Presenting Forever, Ogee right down the inside, travelling well. Meanus Dandy's close up with Lothian Falcon, the yellow cap, and then Character Building. Another plain fence, Killyglen jumping well. In touch is Always Right, Ringaroses still just a little off them. Moving on towards the second of the ditches, Killyglen booted into it, came up well. A blunder from Meanus Dandy just behind them sent the birch flying. On towards the next, fence 12, heading to the end of a circuit in the Coral Grimthorpe. Beat the Boys and Killyglen still forcing it. From Minella 4-star, Lothian Falcon is a bit closer now, disputing fourth with Presenting Forever. And then Meanus Dandy in their headgear still, Ogee under a waiting ride on the inside of Character Building. Marigo and Always Right are next, and Ringaroses remains last. Almost 3 in a line once more as they took that. Killyglen emerged just ahead of Beat the Boys and Minella 4-star. Presenting Forever, having raced keenly early, has been quietly tracking the leaders. He's in 4th place under Brian Hughes. And then Lothian Falcon, the 12-year-old under Robert Walford, just ahead of Ogee. Meanus Dandy being chased along from Character Building and Always Right. Marigo is ridden along once more, and no show from Ringaroses still at the back end of the field. So going towards the 13th, into the last mile of the race. Killyglen and Beat the Boys go to this plain fence together, just a length up on Minella 4-star and Presenting Forever. And then Lothian Falcon ridden along. Ogee up the inside is still cutting every corner. They go towards the last of the ditches. Killyglen and Dennis O'Regan, perhaps just ahead from Beat the Boys. Killyglen, he's jumped the ditches particularly well all the way round. Marigo, meanwhile, is still outpaced, and Character Building is the latest to be ridden along as they run towards the 5th from home. So still Killyglen and Beat the Boys trading blows on the sharp end. From Presenting Forever at the grey right behind them. But he rather reached for that, and he's gone. Presenting Forever takes a tumbling fall. Hampers Minella 4-star has been brought to a halt and has immediately pulled up. So Killyglen and the ridden along Beat the Boys lead them back towards home. Lothian Falcon has responded to pressure, gone up into 3rd, always right under a very patient ride, has now improved to go 4th. Ogee is back in 5th, and then Character Building and Meanus Dandy, and they're well clear of the others, and it's still Killyglen and Beat the Boys, chased by Always Right, who's now steadily working into it under James Reveley. This is 3 from home, and Always Right jumps through to take it up and quickly goes a couple of lengths clear. Lothian Falcon goes in pursuit. Killyglen at the 1 pace, then Beat the Boys, Ogee, Character Building and Meanus Dandy, and it's Always Right for John Wade and James Reveley down towards the 2nd last. A good leap there, 4 lengths ahead of Lothian Falcon. Beat the Boys is back in 3rd, then Ogee, Killyglen and Character Building. There's 1 to jump in the Grimthorpe, and it's this lightly raced chaser, Always Right, in front at the last. Jumped well, 4 lengths ahead. Lothian Falcon, though, is staging a rally on the near side. Always Right's idling a little in front. The old boy, Lothian Falcon, is bearing down at him. Always Right digging in. Lothian Falcon with a thrust on the near side. Always Right is clinging on from Lothian Falcon. Always Right hangs on and wins the Grimthorpe. From Lothian Falcon, Character Building 3rd, then Ogee, Beat the Boys, Killyglen, Meanus Dandy and Marigo the last to complete.
I was just saying to myself that James Reveley had ridden a really good race, and he has, because he's won. But I think if he rode this horse again, he'd probably just try and hold on to him for a little bit longer. He's rode him really quietly, got him jumping. He's gone to the last with his ears pricked. But I think once he's got to the front, Nick, he just thinks he's done enough.
The race rather fell apart around him, didn't it? And he was going so well, I suppose he felt he had to commit. Lothian Falcon dropped a long way down the weights to the tune of being £8 out of the handicap today, but the cheek piece his first time, that headgear that he was wearing, have clearly pepped him up. And although he's 12, he's got relatively few miles on it. Well, great to see him back in good form.
And they had a real tussle then in the last 150 yards. I was just saying to you, oh, this horse is one with his ears pricked, and then all of a sudden he had to work a little bit harder than we'd imagined. But I've been impressed with James Reveley this season. I think he's got a really good clock in his head. You know, gives horses plenty of time to get themselves sorted out.
And we are going to rejoin Alice Plunkett here at New